in Christ.
Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Cebsar Talk. I am Cebsar Talk, and I am privileged to be here today as a guest host. Tonight is going to be a topsy-turvy. The person who has since June 2020 been asking the questions is now going to be questioned on how far we've come with Cebsar Talk. I've been an ardent follower of Cebsar for the period since the talk started. Very insightful, very educative, very informative conversations that have been had on the show. But today, we're going to take a step back and with retrospection, look at what we have done so far, how it all started, and then the future for Cebsar Talk. I'm not going to do this alone. I have a guest host who is in the person of Esther. Sarah, Esther, if you're there.
Yes, I'm here.
And tonight, this afternoon, it looks like my internet is unstable a little bit. You know, in Ghana, it's a bit difficult we getting quality internet service. So I would plead that you pardon me when there is a little break. But that notwithstanding, the regular host of Cebsar Talk, who hello everyone, if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
My network is really unstable here. So I wish to be pardoned if I happen to go on and off. I'm trying to find the best location. I'm letting my little girl run around with the router so that I can get the best of locations for us to actually have a stable internet so that we can continue with the conversation. That notwithstanding, yeah, great. Thank you very much. Tonight, we're not going to have, you know, the usual panelists discussing issues that inform policy decisions. But tonight, we're going to take a look at Cebsar Talk when we started in 2020 up until now. And Dr. Evan Sapia-Kisi, who has been hosting the show since it started in June 2020, is our guest on the show for this afternoon. Doc, if you can hear me, good afternoon.
Yeah, sure, I can. Good afternoon, Sefa.
And as I mentioned, I'm not going to do this alone. My co-host, who is Esther Asari, will help me with the questionings and all of that. So Esther, I think I have to leave the floor for you. You can start and then we can begin with the conversation.
Yeah, hello, my name is Esther. So Dr. Kisi, can you tell us more about Cebsar Talk? How did it all start? How did you come about this idea of Cebsar Talk Africa?
All right, thank you very much.
Before that, you could also introduce yourself. I mean, we know you to be a doctor and what, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Esther. Thank you very much, Sefa. And I must say that it feels a bit different to be questioned now, as if you put it, that I've always been the one doing the questioning. Alongside, I did that with my good friend Edmond Yeboah, and today I have to be a guest and be questioned as well. And so your first question about who is Evans in Cebsar Africa, and yeah, okay, so my name is Evans Apiakisi, as you rightly introduced me, and I hold a PhD in agricultural science from the University of Kassel in Germany. But of course, prior to that, I also did my master's here in Germany, and then I had my bachelor's also in agricultural science at the University of Cape Coast, Ghana. Great. So that's just something brief about who I am. And currently, I am a postdoctoral researcher in the area of sustainable management in agricultural food value chains, also in Germany. So I'm still at the University of Kassel, where I completed my PhD. So thank you very much. And Evans, who is Evans as far as Cebsar Africa is concerned? So basically, I would say that I'm the director of research at Cebsar Africa, and I'm also the host of Cebsar Talk, as you know. And how did I become part of Cebsar Africa? Why did I become part of Cebsar Africa? Well, let me start it this way. It's interesting that I think somewhere in 2017, I would say that Albert and I had a discussion. So Albert, known widely as AK Mensa, who is the president of Cebsar Africa. So Albert and I, somewhere in 2017, had a discussion about forming a think tank. I think our focus was more around a profit-making think tank, something in the area of research, institution, in order to churn out research findings that would also help influence policy. But of course, Albert was already, should I call it, he was already in the think tank space already, something I didn't quite know about. So he also had his own plans. I'm sure he had met some people and was already in touch with a few friends already. So somewhere in 2018, we had a conversation again, and then he was like, my brother, I think I have formed this particular organization called Cebsar Africa. I'm not too sure how he was feeling, whether he felt, so what happens to our thoughts, our initial conversation of, forming another think tank. But he was quick to add that, but don't worry, we will definitely come to the conversation we had. I mean, that's more to make profit. But Cebsar Africa is more of a non-profit organization. And by then, I'm sure he considered me to be someone who is not really into this advocacy thing, politics for non-profit, if you like. Then I said, oh, but that's fine. I mean, that's a great idea. Why not? So I think after some few days, he called again and said, would you like to join the organization? Because this is our mission. Basically, we want to promote a better society for all, a society that, respects everyone, regardless of where you come from, your political affiliation, your education, what have you. And I said, why not? I would be interested. So I was given the position of director of research, and my job basically is to oversee research and development in the organization, if you see. I must say that I'm happy today's show is on Cebsar Talk, because that position as the director of research, I think I'm not yet up to speed, when it comes to that, but it's something that we're also working around. The whole Cebsar Africa itself, I'm sure is not yet up to speed, and so I'm glad the focus would be on Cebsar Talk. Maybe the other part of the question, which is more why so basically that's how I became part of Cebsar Africa, and why I joined it. I think is a good cause. Why not? It's important that we try to promote policies, ideologies, and issues that that is more geared towards the welfare of the greater part of the society. Thank you.
But there's also something interesting. You always discuss topics related to Ghana, but Cebsar Talk is Cebsar Talk Africa. So why do you discuss topics only related to Ghana?
Well, that's a good question, and it's one of the things that we have been cautioned, or some of the questions that we've been asked. I wouldn't call it a critic though, but we've actually been critiqued on that aspect of having the organization called Cebsar Africa and focusing on Ghana. You know, you always have to start small, like they always say. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with just a step. So the founders of Cebsar Africa, or the founder of Cebsar Africa, who is from Ghana, obviously you would have to focus on Ghana first. Okay, so the vision or the mission is to capture the whole of Africa, or to propagate issues across the African continent. But being from Ghana, that's why we focus more on Ghana. But I also have to say that a few of our discussions, we did focus on the entire African country. In fact, our very first topic, which along the line I'm sure I would talk about, it was a topic focusing on Africa. And a few times we had focused on Africa. But that's the bigger picture, actually looking forward or moving into the future. That's something that we would want to do, so that we'll be able to bring more of our African brothers and sisters onto the table. So that's why there's a bit of bias towards Ghana, but I think it's understandable.
Yeah. Thanks, if I will continue from here.
I think I would have to take it from here. And I think the next question that I would like to ask is, what really goes into the decision on a particular topic? What informs the choice of the topics that are normally discussed on the show?
Well, thank you very much, Sifa. I have to already issue a disclaimer here that, of course, as an organization, it's not a media house. And so we do not have an editorial policy or an editorial board or people who do advise us on some of these things. But what informs us mainly is the current state of affairs, or current issues, if you like. So usually we have our ears on the ground, of course, and we follow the news from Ghana and also across the world. And so anytime we get a glimpse of the topical issue making the waves, and of course, not just any issue, that's why you would not find us discussing about, we look for issues that are relevant to building a better society. And so usually we would always want to discuss issues that are making the waves, but are also relevant in building a better society. So this is what basically informs our topics.
So if I'm getting you right, it's not just any topic that you discuss. What you discuss is what is of relevance to ensuring everybody's okay, ensuring everybody's fine, ensuring there is sustained growth and development within our respective societies and communities. But what would you say would be one or two of the key topics that you feel have had that impact?
Well, thank you very much. I mean, we've had so many discussions already, and a key topic that I think all our topics, to be honest, has had that relevance to building a better society, because that's what the organization stands for. So I would say almost all our topics. But in terms of what has had that kind of impact, and I would separate this question from my own favorite topics that we've discussed, but something that has had impact, I would go for, before the election 2020, just last year, we were so passionate and we interrogated the manifesto. I mean, we're not the first to have done that. I mean, to be fair, Joy FM does something of that sort. But I think we went, our case was a bit different because it was more of a non-partisan thing. It wasn't Cebsar Africa necessarily coming out with an assessment of whether the promises in the various manifestos were doable or not, but it was more of inviting technocrats to discuss it and also to prefer solutions to the ones that we think should be done to it. And I feel this particular instance, it was very impactful. I mean, in addition to the fact that almost everything that we do is absolutely impactful. But this particular series of interrogating the manifestos, I think 2-3 months before the elections, was super.
Apart from that, and I sense that you had a personal favorite amongst the topics that you discussed on the show. Which of the personal favorites would you like to talk about?
I mean, I hinted on that term being a personal favorite, but it's not because it had the most impact. Let me put it that way. But it's a personal favorite because I think I was more passionate about it. And perhaps also it was our first child. So that was our very first program that we had. It was about political tribalism in Africa. I think I'm more passionate, about that topic and also about this particular program because of the history behind it. So we got the inspiration from the sad murder of George Floyd. Okay, so like we said at the beginning, what informs our topic is more of the burning issues in society and the issues that are making waves, and we feel that they are relevant in building a better society. And so last year, somewhere May, 25th May to be specific, when the sad death of George Floyd, occurred, it sparked some form of global discussion around the concept discrimination and the likes. I mean, people talked about ethnic discrimination, race, tribalism, and we thought that one of the issues that perhaps have not received enough form of attention is political tribalism, because this is a very, very important thing. And mind you, we're also going into elections 2020. And so we had our first discussion on that. And I always feel passionate about that. I think it helped because it's important that we understand the consequences of holding allegiance to a particular political party other than things that are important in building a better society. So it was a very, very, and I probably would make a clarion call to our viewers and listeners that if you can go to YouTube, you can type Cebsar Africa or Cebsar Talk on YouTube, or you can just put political tribalism in Africa, and I bet you would enjoy the show. So this is more of my favorite topic, not because of its impact per se, but because of the history and the emotions attached to it.
Okay, I think let's go back to a question that my co-host asked as to why there seems to be a bias towards Ghana, and this follow-up question would be how you get the people to speak on the matters or to speak on the issues that you normally discuss on the show. How do you come about them? Why do you select the people you select to speak on the issues that you decide for a particular episode?
Great, thank you very much. As one of the odious tasks that we face, and big ups to Albert and Edmond, in particular these two guys. They've been doing great when it comes to looking for potential guests. I think that it is not easy at all. I know probably we would get to a point where we would have to talk about challenges and the likes, but this is one of the challenges, I can tell you. So how and why do we choose these people? So basically, once we come out with a topic, we try to look for people with expertise in that area. And one of the things that I have to praise Edmond for would be he would quickly go to LinkedIn, not in all cases, but in most cases, to find out his own connections, or sometimes you are connected with someone on LinkedIn, but truth is you don't really know the person. Okay, you've never met the person.
Yeah, it's true.
And usually these are the kind of people he would still go ahead and send them maybe a bit of our synopsis, usually if it's ready, or just speak to them that, hey, we are a group of, this is Cebsar Africa, this is what we do. He would attach the the links to it, show the person some of the programs that we've hosted, and then we would humbly ask the person if he or she would be willing to do. But beyond that, what we usually do is to look within our own circles, to be honest. We look within our own circles to find out whether a particular person is able to speak to a topic or not. Because these are usually done on free basis. You don't want to overburden someone who has no expertise in that. So our connections really help us, our own friends here and abroad, wherever that they are. But sometimes also we just reach out to people that don't have any connections whatsoever with, and then hopefully they are able to come on board.
I know that, for example, being a journalist, when you are to contact somebody that you do not know, you're not that familiar with the person, you want an interview or you want to have an interaction with the person, it's a bit of a difficulty. Sometimes they're a bit jittery at the first place, at the first instance. They do not want to have that sort of interaction with you. Do you, or have you in the past year experienced that? How did you deal with it?
But that's also a very good question. We've experienced that, I mean, a number of times, obviously. I also feel that this is a bit of a challenge and something, of course, we are working towards. Sometimes, to be honest, we contact these people in a very short notice. So this is one of the things that, of course, we will be working towards, also as part of our challenges, also because we don't have a lot of hands on deck, if I should put it that way. But if I really come back to your question and how do we deal with it, we are just lucky that, to be honest, and this time around, I'll give it to Albert. He's so connected that usually we always have 2 or 3 people in mind already. And so once we speak to the first person and he or she declines, then, and we do have some core guys, we call them our regular panelists. You can trust that they can speak to almost everything. I mean, they are like the Kwekubakos, if you would like to say. Yeah, but so that's what we sometimes do. Once we realize that it's quite a short notice, or people do tell us that this is a short notice and they need to prepare here and there, then we'll fall on our regular panelists. That's why you see Edmond and Albert usually are also guests of the show. They are producers, and this time around, Edmond is even a co-host. Yeah. So that's how we are able to deal with this kind of decline from potential guests. All on our own pool of friends who can speak to most of these issues. And then they're able to fill the gap for us. And sometimes also we would plan to have, let's say, 3 guests or 2, but quickly we will just turn it into a one-on-one.
And I think I would have to say around that particular theme of guests. And when you're inviting somebody to a show, you normally have some expectations. What had been your expectations of each and every person that you and Albert happen to have? And how satisfied have you been so far with the output?
Well, this is also a very good one. Thanks. Obviously, for me, it's been awesome. It's been, if I can say, perfect so far. Perhaps I need to be honest on this. Albert and Edmond, they do more of the invitation to the guest, or they invite the guest most of it. So usually, perhaps this is a very good thing. We've never thought about it, but I usually don't have any expectations because these are people I don't really know, you know? So it's not like I have any expectations. Of course, sometimes Albert would give us hope that, you know, this guy coming, this lady coming, guys, she's super, he's super, that kind of things. But so far, they've never disappointed us. I have to say, maybe just they've never disappointed us. So usually, personally, I don't have any expectations. I feel that these are able people who would be able to deliver, and so far so good. Anytime we are done, we get good feedback. So on our guests. So I think that there's not been too much of a
Yeah, I can also add to that. Like sometimes I wonder how do you get these guests? Because I also try to host sometimes people and it's difficult getting them to tell you, oh, I don't have enough time, or I'm shy, I don't want to be on camera, but they're on social media, so I wonder. I told them you're not talking, you're talking to just a camera, just in front of a camera. So what are you shy about? So going to the next question, what has been some of your major challenges or your achievements so far with Cebsar Talk?
Well, so achievement first. I think for challenges, for sure, we've talked about some of the challenges, right? And maybe if you ask of achievements, I probably would throw it back to our viewers and our listeners because they had the best charges here. This is like marking your own script or marking your own assignment, right? But of course, I think we've done well, and it's just it's just right that we could also, should I say, pat our backs a little bit. I would say that for me, one of the major achievement, it might look a bit small, as when you would get a call from someone and the person would say that I listened to the entire program and I learned a lot. This is it. We know in this social media thing, it's all about numbers. Okay, ourselves, we've had a very little debate about whether we should focus more on viewership, getting more views, or just with a little people, if we're able to make impact, that is fine. Of course, it's also important that we are able to engage and reach out to a lot of people. But the little viewership that we have, I think we are okay. And of course, we are working on it to make sure that we improve upon that. Now, beyond someone calling us and praising us, but also critiquing our work, some of our achievement would be the numerous videos that we have made. At least so far, we have 52 videos, and I can assure you that listen to all of them. They are very, very educative and insightful.
Yeah.
In terms of viewership, it's a little over 3,000. We hope that we push that, after more than 1 year program. I think we need to do better in that area. Yeah. And then not only the talk shows, we didn't talk about this yet, but we've also had about 2 or 3 separate programs. One basically on, we did a free workshop seminar to potential master students and PhD students who would want to travel abroad, where we walk them through how to write a proposal, how to write basic emails to professors and the likes. And you and I know these are very important things. As I sit here, I've received an email that I'm refusing to reply because of how the person wrote the email. So these would be some of our achievements, but the impact that is making as far with getting feedback from other people is what keeps us moving. We also talked about something around irregular immigration last month. Yeah, so this has been some of the major impacts. And people wanting to come on the show. I should have said that when Sefa asked the question about how we get guests. It's been amazing. We've also had, and Albert will tell you, since we started, especially at the very beginning, still you have people already writing and saying that I enjoy your show and I would want to be a guest. Yes, and we've been able to pull guests from such instances also. And I feel these are all key achievements that, if I'm allowed to say, I would say these are great achievements. Thank you.
My major challenge with Cebsar Talk has been with the duration. I think you spent about 1.5 hours.
Yes, that reminds me
for someone to sit and just listen to, people talk, because it's not an entertainment video. It's more of education, and most people are not interested in, listening to some of these topics. It's quite educative, but the length of the program is always, for me, a challenge. So how do you hope to resolve this issue?
Thank you. I nearly forgot that your question was in two parts, achievements and challenges. So thanks for bringing me back on track. Challenges. So I'll come to your question, your specific question with this duration and how we intend to deal with it. But maybe just to reiterate some of the challenges we already talked about, trying to get guests and the fact that it's always usually on a short notice because of the nature of our program. You know, we love to talk about topics that are making the airwaves. Okay, so for example, which topic is even making the airwaves? Let me just say these days I have lost track of following Ghana, but I'm sure that what quickly came to mind would be, now I'm told Chile Jonas, this Facebook sensational guy is lost. So for example, this we would not discuss because for us it's relevant. No, don't get me wrong, but we think about things that will benefit the greater the greater population and not just the few people. Then quickly we would want to have a discussion on such a topic. And you know, today is Saturday, we might just decide that okay, we do this next week. And so getting guests is a bit of a challenge. And this is not something that we are doing as full time. Okay, we are all, well, now I'm not a student, but Albert's trying to complete, Edmond somewhere in the middle, getting to his final part. So we are extremely busy, and doing it all by ourselves is also very difficult. So that's another type of challenge. We really need a bit more hands-on on deck, people who would be able to scout for guests for us, people who would also suggest issues for us. But moving forward is one of the things we would be doing, trying to open up to the general public to also tell us some of the issues that they would want us to discuss on Cebsar Talk. Then another challenge, so beyond guests and the fact that there's a lot on our hands and our own time, because these things are being done on free basis. No one is being paid for this. Then another thing would be the time that you talked about.
Yeah.
This, we've received a lot of critics, you know, as far as time is concerned. It's not that we don't want to listen to them, but I like one thing that you said, this is not an entertainment program, okay? It's not a music video. It's something that we intend to educate, inform, and, if you like, influence policy. And in such cases, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes would not be helpful.
Yeah.
I have always been the one giving the questions. And today I'm here preparing just for this small talk, which is even very, it's how do I call it? It's a friendly match, right?
Yeah.
And I think
it's a friendly match.
It took me, let's say, 2-3 hours to prepare, and I didn't even finish. So you can imagine if someone would prepare for 4 hours, 7 hours, sometimes their entire Saturday, and then them to speak for just 10-15 minutes, then it's problematic. But beyond that, what we are looking, what our aim is not necessarily to put just anything there. It's our hope that whoever, and I have to be careful here, but whoever is serious in getting educated and informed would make time for this, at least if not to watch it within the entire 1 hour, 1.5 hours. The person should be able to make it. I use myself as an example. I love watching Newsfile a lot. I have never watched it live, or I have never been able to finish it within a particular time frame. Sometimes for the whole week, every day I watch around 15-30 minutes. And so I think that with the aim of Cebsar Talk, with our aim to influence public policy, we think these will be things that one could always refer to it as some kind of a reference material or a source. And so we do not intend to have 10 minutes, 30 minutes though, but we intend to keep to our 60 minutes. Maybe maximum we've been advised 40-60 minutes, so that we won't go beyond the 60 minutes mark. So this we hope not to. Yeah, thanks for that point. Then the last
45 minutes to 1 hour.
Okay, 45 minutes to 1 hour, absolutely. So we'll try and.
But the question, however, will be how that will be able to, you know, capture and encapsulate whatever it is that the guests that you have are going to say. And as you mentioned, if you are that person who is serious and wants to be educated and wants to know what really the real issues are, you wouldn't bother having to sit and listen critically to whatever it is that is being discussed. And I mean, people go to YouTube, for example, to go and sit down and watch about 2 hours movie. They watch that to entertain themselves. So I think that I think that's a good point. But one thing that I would suggest as a media person is also to have, you know, short clips of, you know, some of the key issues that the guests touched on, so that as a team, that can be circulated not just on YouTube but also on WhatsApp, to draw people's attention to even go to YouTube to have a full listen and a full watch of the conversation that you had on a particular episode. That's a suggestion that I'll give. But I wanted to ask a question about how busy you are and how are you able to combine, you know, having to read for your postdoc and having to sit down and also read, because when the topic is given to you, you don't just get up and then come in and host. You have to do your research. How do you combine the two?
Good question out there. And but if I'm allowed, I just wanted to touch on your recommendation, or I would say your advice, which is very good. It's actually one of the things we are also working on. So I would even add to it that our major challenge is more on sponsorship. I mean, we don't have a sponsorship yet. Of course, it's a non-profit organization. So, but we hope that we will be able to get some. And so if you are watching or listening to us and you are happy with what we are doing and you want to sponsor us, particularly to invest more in advertising on YouTube, as you suggested, to have someone, an IT person who could, you know, cut and edit the important things. And even we moving forward in future, we would even add podcasts to it so that people can then listen to some of these conversations in their cars and the likes. But back to your question, how do I combine this with my work? And yeah, it's not easy, but I usually, it's good that we have a solid team, I would say. And there are others who are helping, but it's been more of the three of us. So Albert, Edmond, and then myself. And we usually do this within a very short time. So we are very grateful to our guests, very, very grateful to them, because sometimes we would be ready with our topic and our synopsis, let's say Tuesday or Wednesday, but we'll still get people to appear on Cebsar Talk on Saturday. That's a miracle, trust me.
Yeah.
But so how I'm able to deal with it, I just make some time for it, I would say. And I feel now that I'm a guest, I feel my part, of course, is the easiest. So usually we'll brainstorm, the three of us would brainstorm and come out with a topic. And then one of us would literally write the background. And then, then the rest, we try to look for other people. And it's not been easy, but I think there's also, I have passion for it. I love doing that. You know, I think I enjoy the name calling here when you meet the girls and they call you, welcome to Cebsar Talk, and then you feel good. But it's just the passion for it, you know, and it's something that it's one of those desires when you are a young kid, as a teenager or a fresh, or no, not a fresh, a young university student. Those are some of the things you think of doing. I've never really dreamt of being a full-time journalist or a television or a radio talk host, but I've always wanted to do something like that on the side. And for me, I just enjoy doing it. I just enjoy it. I think that's and likewise Edmond and Albert, they love to brainstorm. We'll just be brainstorming and kicking each other here and there with ideas and the questions, and then we have a program on Saturday.
Good job. Good job.
So I don't know whether, Esther, you have any other question to ask. I would also like to announce that the show is streaming live on Facebook. So I'll probably have to go to Facebook and see if any of our viewers is asking any question. And if you're listening to us, wherever you may be, and you have any question to ask Dr. Evans Kisi, you can actually leave that in the comment section on our stream on Facebook. A lot of questions running through my mind. And if I say that I'm going to ask all of those questions as a journalist, as you mentioned earlier, it's a friendly match. This is not, it's not a company. It's a friendly match. So another question that I like to ask is, I mean, are you satisfied with what you've done over the year?
Well, yes, I mean, 100%. Of course, we would want more, to be honest, particularly what we just talked about in terms of getting some sponsorship to invest in advertising, especially that area where we will be able to advertise in order to reach out to more people. But if I look at what we have done so far, I'm really satisfied. I tell you what, and now I'm going to talk about Albert and myself. I hardly go back to watch the shows. There are only 2 or 3 shows that I think I rewatched it. And funny enough, the very first show that we had, it's today that I rewatched it. I was so happy. I was so happy. And then Edmond was a guest, Albert, and then one of our regular panelists as well, Lord Eduse. And I'm like, wow, so this is what these people said about this political tribalism that I talked about. So yes, I'm happy. I'm happy to the extent that for the week, I'm just happy. But as a show, there is more to be done. There is more to be done. That I agree, given the challenges that we have talked about. But I think that we've done well, given the very short time that we usually have to do things. Then I think that we've done well. Maybe if we would give up our academic and research dreams and take this as a full-time job, perhaps we would be doing better in terms of viewership and the programs that we would be running. But because this is more also of a program attached to Cebsar Africa, and our intention is not necessarily to make profit from this or to run adverts that will help us pay anybody. That's why we have to squeeze the little time that we have to do things within a very short time. And based on that, I would say again that we're very happy. If not, we would have stopped after almost a year. We just enjoy doing it, but we want to do more.
That's good. So going forward, do you have or if you can continue from there?
No, I just wanted to ask a question because you mentioned that he normally does not watch the shows or rewatch them when he's done with it. And just today you had to go back and watch the very first episode that you hosted. How was the feeling like?
It was good. I have to admit, I was like, hey, Charlie, that's how I hosted the very first show. And I realized that there are some of the things, Sefa, you are a journalist. I feel it gets better, from time to
period of time. Yeah.
And then I was like, so, but how did it happen? Because the very first time I said, welcome to Cebsar Talk. And I even talked about something called hashtag, a better society begins with you and I. I didn't even realize I had said that on the very first show, But of course, there's been improvements. I've a few friends who are real supporters. I call most people who watch the show fellow Cebsarians. So one of the great Cebsarians that I know, one lady would always advise that I watched the show, it was nice, go back and watch it, correct this, correct that. I'm not too sure why, I don't know why I'm not doing that. But usually I just take her advice and then I'm like, okay, I have heard. Yeah. But yes, how did I feel? I felt good. I felt good. Then the only thing I told myself is that maybe I should have taken this thing more seriously and try to seek advice from, let's say, people like you, journalists who are doing very well in the media space, to learn a bit more. Okay. I think that's the only thing that sometimes I feel, but it's not too late. I think there's time to be able to, or maybe take some online course on how to host a program. Or I remember Edmond once shared that for all of us, but I'm not too sure whether he himself he watched it and learned something from it because of our busy schedule. But if not, I think when I watched it today, I felt that I should go back and watching a bit more of what we've done to be able to take some bits and pieces from that.
A quick one though. I believe that we have other guests on Zoom this very afternoon, and I believe that they may be having some questions to also ask. Please, you can type your comment. I think I'll read that out to Dr. Evans up here, and then he can respond to some of the questions. I think I may have to go to Facebook and read some of the comments that are on Facebook, and then we continue. I believe that I'll leave the last bite of the cherry for Esther. Esther has a question to ask regarding the future of Cebsar Talk. What will be the focus for the next year or for the years ahead? And what are the topics that are likely to be discussed on the show? But before that, let me quickly go on Facebook, read a couple of the comments that people have left on Facebook. This one is from Abraham Yale. He says that Dr. Evans Appiah is his role model. So you are a mentor to Abraham Yale. And he says that Evans is a man with vast knowledge in cocoa value chain, and have opportunity to interact with him during his field trip within Jaboso Bia cocoa landscape. I think you have some sort of personal relationship with Abraham Yale over there. And at this moment, I would like to ask if any of our guests on the show has a question for Dr. Evans Appiah. I think Mr. Mensah has a question. Mr. Mensah, I think the floor is yours now. You can ask your question, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Safa. Thank you so much, Esther. It's quite interesting to see Evans in the seat today. This is interesting, and because we hear him confess a lot about what the panel or the guest panel that appear on our show, what they go through. It is not easy to influence public policy. And public policy is not being influenced by people who insult and people who make noise. Public policies are made by cogent plans, cogent proposals, things that work from science, things that work from literature, and things that work from research findings. So that is what Cebsar Africa we are here to promote. We are here not for the usual politics, the usual journalism that we do, but to promote things that are connected with promoting better society for everybody, a society that everybody can realize his or her potential. That is what we are here for. So my question, sorry that I took some time to give this synopsis, this preamble, but my question to Dr. Kisi today, we did what is called the interrogating the manifesto. What key message did we drive home to the people or to government for policy action? Secondly, what made interrogating the manifesto different from the usual paradigms that we have witnessed over the years? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mensah. I think Dr. Appiah would have to respond to that question. Two key questions. In journalism, we call that double-barreled question. So you have a double-barreled question. You need to take your time and then respond. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thanks, Albert. And in our field also, such questions, if you put it in your questionnaire or interview guide, you're likely not to get a good answer for your analysis.
Exactly.
So you are warned, Albert. Asking such double-barreled questions could be dangerous, could be ingenious to your research findings. Anyway, well, so what key issues or key policy issues derive from that talk? I guess it will be a bit difficult to answer them because during that series, we touched on almost all the aspects of the economy, from education to infrastructure to health to what have you. And again, I probably would have to make a clarion call to those who are watching and listening to us to maybe find time and watch those videos, and policymakers perhaps could find time to watch the videos, because there's one thing we do on Cebsar Talk, which I think it's a bit different from the shows that I've watched, where at the end of the show, because it's an educative program, we ask our guests to give us a concluding remark, things that could be taken away from those in positions to implement. And sometimes we summarize the talk ourselves. And even recently that Edmond joined as a co-host, he would usually give a summary of what has been discussed and what we feel could influence policy moving forward. But if I should say a few things, Albert, if I should say a few things, honestly, I wouldn't know. I have also not followed to see whether the current government, the MPP party that won power, whether, I think it's one of the things we might want to do in Cebsar Talk later after 4 years to find out whether indeed they met their promises or not. But if not, in summary, what the show did was that it helped to shape some of the promises that they gave in their manifestos. It's always a bit difficult, as we had the show. Yes, we know manifestos are social contracts between a potential government and the people of Ghana, but we also know it's not a binding document. It's not something that you can hold them to it and say that, even though, yes, they are sometimes punished for not implementing a particular thing, but it's not something that you can today go and hold them to it and say that you promised A, B, C, but you did not. But moving away from the policymakers, I feel what we did, the major impact was to potential voters, because along the line, we try to educate people that you need to scrutinize the manifestos to be able to tell whether what they are saying, these are valid things, these are things that can be done within the space, within the Ghanaian jurisdiction. And I hope that at least it probably fell on some good ears, and I'm sure they probably voted within the line. If I'm not afraid to say, for example, when we did the assessment of the manifestos, it was clear that the independent candidates' manifesto stood tall because things were done properly, compared to the two big political parties. So I would say a major influence. And again, so like you said, it's a double-barrel question. I think I've answered all. The difference of the manifesto talk, if you compare it to what has been done, was our attempt to prefer valid recommendations that we feel could be considered in order to make these things work, other than others who looked at it to count numbers to say which manifesto is better, because our aim was not to pitch one manifesto against the other, as was done in other media houses, to see which manifesto was doing good or not. But we looked at the credibility of such manifestos and the validity and the implementability of such promises. Thank you.
Mr. Mensah, I believe that I want to quickly go back to Mr. Mensah and ask if he thinks his question has been answered correctly and if he's satisfied with the response Dr. Evans Kisi gave. Mr. Mensah, I hope you're satisfied with the response.
Yes, please. Thank you so much.
Yeah, okay. I think, Esther, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, so Ivan, going forward, what is the future of Cebsar Talk Africa?
Well,
Keep on watching you. Tell us more.
Thank you very much. The future is bright. I mean, I guess that it looks good, I would say, and perhaps some of the things we would do is what we all discussed earlier on. And one of the tips from Cebsar Talk is quite brilliant, and something we've also had a discussion around. Both Edmond, Albert, and I, we've considered, providing some form of a podcast at least. But the key thing to do is also what Cebsar said about having someone to cut and edit those salient points, in order to encourage people to go and watch the full video. And I think we would be doing that. Yeah, it's not easy. Albert has been doing well with something. Usually, if he's not a guest, he would be putting down some of the sayings of the guest, capturing them and immediately posting them on Facebook. And I think that we would have to revisit that, perhaps get someone board to help us to do that. In future also, we plan to have some additional programs, beyond the Cebsar Talk on Saturday. I don't know whether we would move it to Friday. Something we would have to discuss and see whether we would change the day or not. But we also have plans of hosting people, getting to learn about the lives of other people. This is done popularly. I will talk about the personality profile, for example, that's done on Joy, but we want to look at it from a different dimension, maybe a focus more on research and, academia, policy stuffs, not necessarily celebrating people. We think there are so many programs that are celebrating our heroes. That's good, but we probably would want to bring it a bit down to research and academia to learn more about things that influence policy on a one-on-one basis. So the future is good, bright, but hopefully to invest more, into viewership, into getting a lot of people to be engaged as far as Cebsar Talk is concerned. Thank you.
And I think I will still ask the question if, for example, I can see that Edmond is on, Nanaya Bonsu is also on. Nanaya, do you have any question to ask Edmond? If you have any question to ask,
oh, please, I'm only enjoying.
So I think my final question to Dr. Evans-Kissi will be, what really will be the add-ons to the show going forward from, let's say, next week? What new thing are we likely to see on the show?
To see me on the show? Yeah, hopefully. I'm not too sure what's going to happen. I probably would have to ask Edmond and Albert, but I'm sure that next week we definitely would host Cebsar Talk. We went on a little break, and I mean, those who know, but we don't want to miss that. Albert would not be too happy if we should miss next week, even though we don't have time. You asked a very nice question, how we balance our time with work and this show. And so I think that, yeah, the major add-on would be more of I should say this, but it's a very controversial thing I'm about to say, but trying to get more females panel. I know Esther is very passionate about that, and
thank you very much.
It's one of the things. But the problem is that I even forgot to add when we were talking about getting guests and challenges. Sometimes you invite people and they are like, "Hey, Cebsar Talk, my guy, I don't want to be there." The kind of questions people are asking, and yeah, but it's our hope that we would get more female panel members, and also once in a while would have guest hosts like you, Cebsar, and Esther joining, and I'm sure that when we knock on your door, you will gladly open. So this will be some of the add-on. Yeah.
I think there is a message here that's coming from Samson in Cancer. He says that thank you very much for your enlightenment. Please, my recommendation is that you can create a link that one can just click and join the meeting or program straight on Zoom without necessarily keying the ID and password. And I believe that your good self and Mr. Mensah are taking note of this particular issue. I think that's all for now, and we're looking forward to a very insightful week. That's next week. We are hoping to be on Cebsar Talk again and then listen to the discussions and the people that you bring on to the show. A very quick one. This is a very quick, and I think this is going to be the very last question. Do you have a favorite panel?
You mean, do I have a favorite panel? Yes, I do. Actually, I have a favorite panel. And
yes,
my favorite panel, to all of you, I know it's going to be a surprise, actually is myself. I didn't know that I could be a very good panel like that. No, I mean, I think our panelists have been great, trust me. It's amazing. There are some of them, they give me tough time because, when the show gets more interesting when you ask follow-up questions. But there are some of them, they want to say everything within their answers. And then you don't know how to ask because you feel your follow-up question has been answered. But
answered already.
So far, we've had very great panel members, and they are all my favorites. So I probably would be my own favorite, I would say. Since I'm also now a panel member, I'm my favorite.
Just you on the safer side, right?
Yeah.
I think that'll be all for now, and I'd like to thank every single person who's made Cebsar Talk a success since it started in June 2020 up until now. You're looking forward to a greater future for the show. Very thank you to Mr. Albert Mensah, who is always pinging me on WhatsApp. Thank you, boss. And very
Thank you.
And a very thank you going to Dr. Evans Kisi, who has been holding the fort since it started. And I believe that they're going to continue to do that. And even if somebody comes in, I believe that the person will be under your tutelage for a period of time before you finally hand over, and then you can concentrate on some of the other equally important things to do to help society be better. Esther Asari has been my co-host. Esther, thank you very much. Esther contacted me. I was asking myself, is this number Mr. Covenant's Mensah's number? Because I was thinking anyway. It looks similar. Thank you to Edmund, and thank you to Nanaya Bonsu for also being here. Thank you to every single individual who's been following the show on Facebook and been going to the YouTube channel to go and listen to the shows that have been recorded so far and been posted there. And until we meet again next week, this has been Cebsar Talk, and I am Sefa Danko. My co-host has been Esther Asari. Good evening to you all.
Thanks for having me.